Hello, this is Ron and Hewan. Welcome to Politically Challenged. On this episode, we're going to talk about cultural appropriation. Have you heard of this before, Renujin?
Oh yes, when often a white person is accused of being racially insensitive to other culture by wearing or exhibiting culture that's inherently part of another's. So I think culture is it's a consequence of people going to different places and so on.
Okay, fine. So let's talk about what culture actually is. Okay, so culture, according to the dictionary, is the ideas, customs, and social behavior of a particular people of society. Now, given this basic definition, do you think there's any merits to the notion of cultural appropriation? Do you think there's any accuracy behind it?
Well, the thing with culture is that people have an ingrained belief in it's part of their culture and so on. And if a person feels they're offended by it, they will obviously act out.
Somebody
different
appropriates another person's culture. In some ways, they could be appropriating somebody's struggle or somebody's background or somebody's history, as if they're stealing somebody else's history, stealing somebody else's ideas, or stealing somebody else's traditions.
That's why the appro thing's kind of picking off.
Okay, fine, exactly. So that leads us to our next point. Apu Nahasa Pima Patalon. Do you think that you, as a South Asian person or someone of South Asian descent, do you feel as if Apu Nahasa Pima Patalon is an example of cultural appropriation? And if so, why?
Well, he is voiced by an American white guy, Hank Azaria. I don't know Hank's background, so he's white, Caucasian. I could check about it, but that's not important. So you could say someone else who is not of that background, not of that ethnicity, is technically taking a role away from someone who's actually born into that culture. Saying that, I never found Apu offensive. And I remember one of the episodes where he's arranged in marriage, and he was in one of those dating shows. On The Simpsons, he told the crowd were basically looking for different suitable bachelors to set up with women, and he seemed like the most appealing one because based on his Asian heritage and basically Asian background, it's like you have to work hard. He has the master's, bachelor, he has his own business, and that was viewed as an attractive quality with the women. So
sure.
So basically in that episode he was seen as a positive light. Obviously at the end he got married and so on, but he was seen as a positive. All the others saw they liked that, and you dated loads of women in that one episode.
I mean, there was a documentary about the problem with Apu that stated that Apu also showed negative stereotypes of South Asians and that culture.
Yeah, but we've said that The Simpsons also talk about negative culture everywhere.
Yeah, exactly. They have negative culture. They have negative stereotypes.
I mean, when they went
for every single type of person.
When they went to Brazil, in that Brazil episode, that got criticized in Brazil, but how dare they? Well, they did an episode where they came to England, and Tony Blair was an episode, and it wasn't the best portrayal of England, but no one cared, really.
Yeah, I watched that episode and I thought it was hilarious. I love the fact that they went to England. I wasn't thinking, no, that's not true. Because to me, some of it was. But again, it was a TV show. I didn't get offended by it.
It's a bit of fun. I mean, they've been to India, they've been to China, I say fictionally China, but it's a bit of fun, and they make fun of themselves. I mean, like you said that no one's had a go at how Homer Simpson is an example of an American man, but no one cares about that.
Yeah, I think I made this point on a comment or a post on our Politically Challenged page. I talked about how Ned Flanders is the encapsulation or the coalescence of negative stereotypes of Christians, gullible, pushover type, doormat, weak-minded, or not necessarily weak-minded. I think he's actually a principled, strong-minded person, but he's portrayed as somebody who's weak just because he's a kind of decent human being and follows faith. Too much. Let's go back to the main point. So Apu.
Yeah.
Do you think he is an epitome of negative stereotypes of South Asians?
No, he's a stereotype. He's not negative or positive. The character is flawed, but everyone's flawed. So I'm not offended by him, but I think people are allowed to be offended by him. But as Hank Azaria said, that he's willing to make change to the character or leave and let someone else continue voicing him. So I mean, I've never.
Do you think Hank Azaria should leave?
No, I would be. Well, Simpsons have gone on for 29 years now. I mean, how many more seasons is it going to go? Like, let's say it lasts another 5-6 years. Is it going to really be worth, like, recasting now? Or the show's. I'm hoping it ends soon. I'm hoping it doesn't get cancelled as a proper ending, but you know what I mean.
I mean, it would be very interesting because just because Hank Azaria, even if, let's say, he does.
He's just going to stop voicing Apu. He'll still be on the show, but you know.
Yeah, he'll still be on the show because he does like 20 to 30 other voices.
Yeah.
He does Mo, he does, what was it, Chief Wiggum as well?
Yeah.
Yeah, he does like dozens of other voices, so he won't get fired from the show. He just wouldn't be able to do Apu anymore. But he says that he's be willing to step aside. I don't think it will actually happen. I don't think even the producers would let that happen. I think from that episode, or from the snippet of the episode we showed, with Marge telling Lisa that story, and Lisa saying, oh, well, what can you do if something that used to be applauded is now offensive, what can you do? And then there was that photo of Apu saying, don't have a cow, which is kind of funny thinking, in any other context, why would Apu be in a picture in Lisa's bedroom? But you know, who knows?
Oh, well, I remember an old episode where it was Paul McCartney and his late wife, and that's when Lisa became a vegetarian, and then she told Apu she's a vegetarian, and he basically introduced him to all the vegan stuff he had, and then she asked him, do you not eat cheese? And he said he didn't like that, he said he would never eat any product from an animal, and she felt really bad, and Apu said he would never judge someone just because he doesn't eat anything from an animal. He doesn't judge anyone else.
Okay, makes sense.
So technically in that case, like, in that episode, he didn't judge Lisa for having a different opinion to him. So like, you'll be a vegan, you'll be a vegetarian, it didn't matter to him. I mean, he works in a store where he sells meat products and so on.
Yeah,
he did not judge any customer. I'm not sure if he drinks or not, but the point is that he didn't care what his customers do. He's there to do the job and so on. I remember a case about on an airline where a Muslim air hostess wouldn't serve a man alcohol because she is Muslim.
Yeah.
But I found that
in real life or in a program?
No, in real life.
Okay. Good points. I mean, perhaps in a lot of ways, Apu would show positive stereotypes of immigrants, South Asian or otherwise, hardworking. They pay their taxes. They're self-employed. They run their own businesses. You know, they take care of themselves and their families. I mean, I didn't really think about Apu showing negative stereotypes, but then again, why would I? Like,
well, as a child, it's nice to have a brown person on TV as well.
Yeah, I mean, he wasn't even the only non-white person there. There was also Carl.
Who was adopted by an Icelandic family. His parents
was he? I don't even watch The Simpsons anymore.
That's an old episode.
One of the few black guys there was adopted by an Icelandic family.
Yeah, he's from Iceland. He grew up in Iceland. There's an old episode when he went back to Iceland.
I have no clue about that, but okay. Okay.
Oh wait, is it Iceland? No, never mind.
I mean, I tell a lie when I say that I've never been, let's say, offended by portrayals of people like me. So like Ned Flanders I mentioned, back when I was younger, I think it did annoy me a little bit that Ned Flanders was one of the most prominent Christian members of the character crew. He was one of the most Christian people there, and he was always seen as gullible and meek for most of it. It annoyed me a little bit, but I got over it because I realized I don't think most people think that every Christian's like that. And at the same time, sometimes when I see Nigerians portrayed in TV and film, in Hollywood films, it annoys me because, not because of the stereotypical accents, but because you've got it's like they're portrayed as criminals or, I don't know, something negative. And I was like, there are like 200 million Nigerians in the world. 99.9% of them are not criminals, or 419 people, or Nigerian princes out to get your money. Like, it's annoying.
You could say that, 99.9 whatever percent of every race is
Exactly. So you can't really, based on negative stereotypes, they're just stereotypes. You can't say that, for example, every South Asian or Indian person is going to be like Apu. You can't say that. Well, you could say that, but you wouldn't be correct. It wouldn't be correct, not even just politically correct, it wouldn't be accurate. Maybe I should say accurate. It wouldn't be accurate to say that most black people are thugs. It wouldn't be accurate to say that most white people are colonizers. It wouldn't be accurate to say that most Muslims are rapists or terrorists. It wouldn't be accurate to say that most Latinos or drug dealers. Like, that wouldn't be accurate. You could, whether it's offensive or not is one thing, but it's not even accurate.
Everything you just said, that crosses over into every single culture, every single value. So it doesn't have to be black, they could be white, they could be Asian.
They could be anything. All those negative things that I mentioned, like criminals, including rapists and terrorists and drug dealers, you have them in every society, in every country, of every color and creed and sexual preference and class and income bracket. Well, okay, maybe there aren't that many rich drug dealers. In a nutshell, I don't necessarily think that a poo is an example of cultural appropriation, although it would be naive to not realize why other people might think that it's cultural appropriation.
Well, it is in a way because Hank isn't an Asian guy. So
yeah, Hank Azaria isn't South Asian of descent.
You could technically judge the producer for not hiring a guy, but you told me that Samurai Jack is voiced by a black guy.
Yes, Samurai Jack is voiced by a black person. So the same black guy that did what was his name from Star Wars? Jabba the Hutt? No, not Jabba the Hutt. No, the Rastafarian one that nobody liked.
Jar Jar Binks.
Yes, that one.
I never had a problem with Jar Jar Binks.
Yeah, it's the same guy that did Samurai Jack. No one called it cultural appropriation.
Because I didn't know.
Tara Strong, she's a blonde white lady. She does Omi from... what is the show?
Shout and Showdown every time.
I keep forgetting it. Jesus Christ.
Oh, come on, it was a good show, and they brought it back.
I love Shaolin Showdown.
They brought it back and made it silly.
They brought it back. Another network took it, and they had to change all the order names of the special magic items, which really annoyed me because I was really invested in the old names in the old way, and then they just ruined it. They ruined it. But yes. Tara Strong.
We can talk about our childhood idols later. That's a good idea.
Tara Strong, probably a good one, yeah. Tara Strong, a white lady, did.
I think she was Harley Quinn. I don't know if that's her.
Possible. I'm not sure. She's done dozens of characters over the years, and Omi's one of them, and Omi's Asian. So no one called that cultural appropriation. Although I wouldn't be surprised if they're calling it cultural appropriation now.
Well, technically it is because she's not from that culture, but the point is a culture. I think we could probably talk about whether cultural appropriation is. What's the reasonable response to it? Okay, do you think? So, people who could be offended that a white guy is voicing a poo.
Yeah.
They are allowed to voice their opinion, but how are they allowed to voice? Are they allowed to demand that he gets recast or taken out of the show? What can they demand? What can they demand?
See, that's a broader question, and I'm glad you asked. Because it's a question that needs to be answered. I'm not glad you asked because I have no freaking clue if I can answer it. But I'll give it my best shot.
I know.
I'll give it my best shot just because I know that no matter what I say, people are going to make up a reason why we're wrong. So screw it. Let's go.
Opinion.
Let's go.
An opinion though.
Let's see. So, repeat the question. Why? What should be demanded? Okay, bet. So I don't personally believe that Hank Azaria should be fired, because even if he was fired, you're losing 20 voices, and that would be stupid. But even, let's say he steps aside as he wishes to do with a poo. What's going to happen? We're going to have a South Asian do play a poo. That could be cool, but it won't, would it be the same?
Would it be
better? Maybe. Would it be worse in terms of who a poo has been? Who knows?
Oh yeah, when you say South Asian, it would be a South Asian American who will be putting on the accent.
Exactly. Let's say it's the guy who plays Raj from The Big Bang Theory, who's actually British. Would that be better? Or would it have to be someone who comes straight from India, from, I don't know, somebody with experience in acting and living in India, straight there in America to play a poo?
Yeah, when we went to see Black Panther, I found it, people thought it was a big deal that it's all black, mainly a predominantly black cast, but I found it weird that they were all black American, or black English. There were no people from Africa, were there, in that film? No African character, no people from Africa.
Well, yeah, we had people we had Black British people, African Americans, people. Lupita is half Kenyan, half Mexican, but no,
Where
I
does
think
she live? Is she
in
American?
America, yeah.
So they're all American.
I presume that it wasn't a pure African caste, but it was definitely, obviously, irrefutably a majority Black caste, and I think that was the point.
Yeah, but no.
But I think part of the appeal of the Black Panther thing, particularly since it was a Disney-owned film, they wanted to get big names to make the money, and that's what they did. It's made at least 1.3 billion since.
We see it.
Since it came out, like.
So
they made the money from it. Okay.
Oh, we could talk about money, and we could talk about marketing, and we could talk about swastikas now. It's relevant.
I think it's relevant in terms of cultural appropriation.
Yeah.
If we were to argue that cultural appropriation does exist, I think there are two very good examples that you could use to argue that cultural appropriation does exist. Let me not be biased. So let's go for the first one, swastikas. Now, we all know about the swastika, that symbol that is synonymous with Nazi Germany, Nazi culture, the Holocaust, Hitler, and everything wrong with anti-Semitism. There's nothing right with anti-Semitism.
Let's go back to the point. So, the swastika...
The swastika is connected to every negative thing in the world because of the Holocaust, because of Nazism, and because of fascism and everything else.
And neo-Nazis now, obviously.
Exactly. Neo-Nazis now. In Britain, in America, frickin' everywhere. Alright. But obviously not everyone would know that the swastika predates Nazism by thousands of years.
Predates everyone, really.
Well, there were, let's see, major religions and not so major religions using the swastika as a symbol for peace. In fact, well-being. See? In the ancient Indian language of Sanskrit, swastika means well-being. The symbol has been used by Hindus, Buddhists, and Jains, as in people who follow Jainism, for millennia, and is commonly assumed to be an Indian sign. Now, in 2018, if you look at the swastika, you will always think of Nazism, and neo-Nazism, and fascism.
But in the 1920s, in America, you would associate with Coca-Cola, probably.
There are images. If you go onto a BBC
We'll
article,
we'll put the link.
Yeah, we'll put the link in the description box. If you see the BBC article that we'll share with you, you will see a Coca-Cola swastika. I kid you not, that exists. A Coca-Cola pendant that looks like a swastika. A pack of cards, and fine-eating California fruits from Swastika.
The company is called Swastika.
The swastika is called, the company is called Swastika, and they sell fine-eating California fruits. And there is an image of that, the Coca-Cola pendant, and a pack of cards, all of them with the swastika sign on them, and that was in 20th century America.
And probably other countries, we can't just say America. It could be anywhere. Well, that's California, Coca-Cola's American.
Yes.
Cards could be American as well, if you want.
Yes, but the symbol in itself, it actually originates from, well, India.
As far as they know.
As far as we know, and as far as BBC knows.
But I know it's a part of a Chinese culture as well, so ancient Chinese culture. But it basically,
Is it?
Yeah, it's part of every culture, really. More or less.
Maybe not every culture, but it's been related to...
No, but you can see that the Western culture did inherit it and made it seem like something positive.
Yes.
Before Hitler had his way with it.
At the beginning.
Yeah.
But now, it has been used as something negative. Especially with Nazism, neo-Nazism, and fascism. Which is upsetting, because we know what Nazism means, we know what fascism means, and I don't have to tell you how freaking annoying and how freaking dangerous that those ideologies are for everyone, Not just people of color, not just Jews, freaking everybody.
Hate is not healthy.
No, hate is not healthy, and it's
It's not just
definitely,
not
definitely
it's
doesn't
hate.
work.
Yeah, like when you get into like you talked about an echo chamber. When you get into an echo chamber of hate, it just leads to more hate and.
Yeah, it's a vicious cycle of hate. That we
Yeah,
don't
but
want
when
to-
you leave the echo chamber, you still have that ringing in your head, and you just take it everywhere.
it stays with you. Like if you spent your entire life, even as us, as people who aren't white, if we spent our entire lives living with neo-Nazis somehow, if we lived in a neo-Nazi town, we'd probably be self-hating. Because if you live in a society that tells you that you can only be beautiful and smart if you're white, then you're gonna believe them if you're indoctrinated into that society. As a white person, you will feel empowered because you'll feel, oh, well, no one's better than me. If you're not a white person and you live in such a town, hypothetically, you would not feel empowered, you would feel weakened, almost like a slave, which is exactly what white supremacy does.
Yeah.
They would want to enslave or kill anyone that isn't like them.
On to white supremacy, we should probably talk about that Holy Week in Spain.
Semana Santa, it's a holy week in Spain. They have all these traditional festivals, very cultural, very, very holy, very sacred. But there's one feature that is very, it's prominent and it's interesting. A lot of these people wear pointy hoods during the ceremonies and during the parades. Well, not just white.
Black.
We've got black ones, purple ones, and white hoods.
Yeah.
You have all these Spanish people walking up and down streets in Spain wearing white hoods and
With a cross.
yes, with holy crosses. Yes. Now, to the layman or to someone who doesn't know the background or the history of this holiday, you would automatically think that it's KKK members. But no, they're not KKK members. In fact, what happened was that these Spanish people were having this Holy Week, and obviously they've had this Holy Week for hundreds of years before the KKK were even created.
Yeah, Trevor Noah, who saw this in Spain and put it in his credits, which is why we found about it, he said it's going to be gone like 450 years, which predates. It probably predates
Yes,
America.
450 years.
Like probably predates America, doesn't it? 450 years?
If you're talking about the fact that the United States of America was established in 1776, then yes. This Holy Week in Spain predates modern America, let alone the KKK. So,
Which came after, wasn't it?
yeah, it came way off.
That was in the 20th century as well.
Um,
Was the KKK in the 20th century? Actually, I don't know.
it became prominent in the 20th century, that we can say for sure. So in a nutshell,
That was not a good century for it.
in a nutshell, the Nazis, you could argue that they appropriated the swastika and turned it into something terrible, when really for thousands of years within Hinduism, Jainism and Buddhism, it was seen as a wonderful symbol of peace. It meant well-being. In Sanskrit, it's supposed to mean, say it again, well-being. Okay. Now the swastika, it has negative connotations, and it's very difficult to take it back to its peaceful, original, wholesome origins.
Saying that, I've been in a few temples and I've seen the symbol still there, no one really cares. And you say about the Spain thing, they're probably aware of the KKK, but
Yes.
that hasn't stopped them from the peaceful origin.
They haven't stopped their traditions. They haven't altered it to step away from the negative stereotypes created by the KKK. They haven't stepped away from the negative stereotypes of having white hoods. So it's interesting. You're right. They're still performing these Semana Santa parades in Spain every year to commemorate Easter.
Yeah, with partly atmosphere, it's a spiritual thing. It's very welcome. It's very homey. But
Exactly. If you go to Spain and you see people wearing white hoods, 99% of the time, they're probably not trying to kill you. But in America, if you see men with white hoods, it's a different story. At least that's what people would think.
yeah, that's.
So if we can understand why maybe there might be a case for the existence of cultural appropriation, especially in a historic sense. So in a nutshell, Nazis appropriated the swastika and turned it bad. The KKK appropriated white hoods in order to look properly Christian, and then used this disguise to go ahead and kill and oppress and torture black people and other people who were not like that.
Yeah.
In terms of racial ideology.
I think the swastika was meant to symbol a source of like power for Nazis. So like power, that they're the most powerful race, and their idea was
it was their symbol
of winning. So technically they wanted it, but because of what they've done, everyone else like.
Perhaps you could make the argument that the Nazis took the swastika so that every time they did something, every time they succeeded,
they saw it as their well-being
in their mission. Exactly. Every time they succeeded at something, it would improve their well-being, not just the well-being of not just the individual well-being, but the well-being of
their cause,
the Third Reich or whatever. Their cause.
Yeah.
It wasn't just about individual well-being, it was about the well-being of their cause. They wanted to create an empire that would last 1,000 years, right?
When the symbol has been gone on thousands of years.
Yep, the symbol predates Nazism by thousands of years.
Yeah, kind of. Do you think it's possible for people people still, like, we go to certain temples, you still see it. Is it possible for the widespread population to like start, not forget about the Nazis, but like acknowledge that this was originally meant to be a symbol of peace? Is that possible? I mean, it would take a while, but is that possible? Because in terms of like history of the symbol,
you're asking if we can ever bring the swastika back to its peaceful origins?
Yeah, I think it's like in relation to its history, like it's what 80, 90 years of its history. I mean, it's like 2,000 years erased by 90 years.
I personally don't think that it's the same. I personally don't think
it can't be brought back.
I personally don't think that it can be brought back. Like in contrast to the swastika, these guys in Spain, in terms of the global perception, if you think of what men in white hoods, you think of the KKK first.
Yeah.
I didn't, at least me personally, I'm not sure about other people, maybe other people are more learned and more cultured than me, and they've been to Spain during Easter, and they've seen this, but I haven't, have you?
No.
So, before Trevor Noah going to Spain, and then talking about his experience in Spain, on his show, I didn't know this thing existed. I didn't know that any of this existed during Easter in Spain. None of it. So to me, if I only see white hoods, I think of the KKK.
Yeah.
So I presume that it would be like that with most people, particularly most people living in the Western world, except obviously Spanish people. You would think of the KKK first. But because of this, maybe because not so many people have known about what happened in Spain, maybe because of that, no one is going to think, okay, well, white hoods are only seen with the KKK. Maybe when they see that it's to do with the Semana Santa, it's refreshing to know that there was a culture that would use white hoods previously that didn't want to kill people. Maybe I'm full of it. Maybe there's another reason why this culture, this holy culture, has lived through prejudice even before the KKK existed, and then the KKK existed, and then it took the meaning of the white hood and made it bad, and then this culture, this Holy Week, still survives to this day.
But again, that's subjective. They see this as something good for them. The KKK sees it as a symbol of strength for them, much like the swastika for the Nazis. They see it as a positive symbol for them.
Okay, that makes perfect sense.
To them it's positive, to other people it's
that makes perfect sense. So what you're saying is,
technically the KKK
feel that what they're doing is in good faith.
Which is
that what they're doing is the right thing. So they figured, hey, let's take this holy festival, this righteous festival, this festival created and practiced in good faith, and we'll take it as a disguise, and then we'll practice our beliefs through that.
Because they feel they're doing God's work there. Yeah.
Perhaps that or at least we can definitely assume that what the work that the KKK are doing, they think that it's the right thing to do. Whether they think it's God's work, I'm not sure, no clue. But I believe we can safely assume without much conflict or much, much criticism, that what the KKK are doing, whatever it is, they think they're doing the right thing. Otherwise, why would they be doing it?
Yeah, I wonder how they would...
If they don't believe in what they're doing, why would they be doing it?
So this group, they don't like, for black people, they don't like foreigners. How would they feel if they found out that Spain are still using this? A foreign country to them, how would they feel? Would they stop using them?
Well, I'm not sure actually, but they took it from them. So what are they going to do about it? Like, they took it from the Spanish festival. The KKK stole, or maybe you could argue, appropriated the white hoods and all of that from the Semana Santa / Holy Week festival. You can so the KKK can be offended, at least the modern version of the KKK, or the modern members or the current members of the KKK can be offended about it, but then it would be stupid because they could be offended by something that they're offended by the fact that the KKK, in other words themselves and the people before them within the KKK, stole from the Spanish festival, which is illogical really, but then again, I'm not going to rely on the KKK for logic, for obvious reasons.
Yeah. Anything else?
Alright, but how does that, in terms of the swastika being stolen from holy, wholesome beginnings and used for evildoing or to represent evildoing, and the white hoods from the Spanish Holy Festival, good wholesome beginnings, the white hoods from that being taken and appropriated by racist Ku Klux Klansmen to do their evil biddings while they think they're right. How do those two things how would that compare to, let's say, a white person or a light-skinned person wearing dreadlocks?
Well...
Because I remember when Demi Lovato, who is Latina, not white, Latina, she had dreadlocks in one video. People hated her for it. I remember watching a video on Facebook about a black girl shouting at and then beating up a white boy because he had dreadlocks. Now, both instances, I personally feel that they're stupid, but what the hell do I know?
Yeah, that's...
What would you think about that?
Well, let's think about something. Okay, Eminem, he does rap music, right?
Yes.
He's one of the most successful rap artists out there.
Yes, some would argue that he's the most successful. Maybe he's got competition from modern guys right now, or guys that are up and coming, but yeah, he's one of the most successful.
Yeah, would you say to understandable, because of his popularity, he's probably brought, let's say, the brand mainstream people into rap and all that stuff, so because of his success, he's brought other people into it.
Definitely. I mean, one of my favorite rappers, apart from Eminem, his name is Hopsin. He's an African American rapper, and one of his major influences was Eminem.
Well,
so you're right in that Eminem would have been instrumental in bringing more people, black and white, into rap and starting their rap careers. He would have influenced them into doing it.
Yeah, and Elvis, he took a part of black culture.
Yes, Elvis. So people like Elvis in the past, and more recently Bruno Mars, these are non-black men who grew up around black people, Elvis grew up around black people, Bruno Mars grew up around black culture, and both of them grew up around black music. So obviously they were influenced by this, and they took it and recreated it in their own, with their own style, with their own image.
And you said they grew up with it, technically can't, so how much, can you say they identify with that culture? That's technically their culture as well. I mean, also, surely we're in a point where you could share culture and stuff.
Okay, I
agree
with you with that. If you, as a human being, strip away the color of your skin, strip away the color of your skin. If you as a human being are brought up within a certain town or a certain background where most of what they listen to is so-called black music, you're gonna want to listen to it. And if and when you become a musician, your influences are going to be, in quote, or black music.
Yeah, you could grow up in that culture and dislike it, and it'd be like, oh, I want to pursue other stuff, I want to go into other music, and so on.
So, within that context, you wouldn't call Elvis or Bruno Mars cultural appropriators?
Here's the thing, cultural appropriation is basically you take a part of a culture that isn't yours. It's not always necessarily a bad thing. We talk about Nazis and we talk about the KKK. Is it really bad that they are bringing parts of black culture and Asian culture or whatever, and they bring it to media where other people can see it? Like you talked about, who was that with the dreadlocks? Who was in the dreadlocks? You mentioned that. Gomez? No? Was that it?
The dreadlocks?
Yeah, dreadlocks.
Demi Lovato.
Okay. Demi Lovato. I mean, like, that's just a hairstyle to me. Like, are you telling me, like, are you saying I can't have an afro because it's a black haircut? Are you telling me?
I wouldn't tell you that. I mean, personally, for your personal style, I wouldn't see why you would want dreadlocks.
No, I don't.
But I mean, I don't think, if for some reason you wanted to have dreadlocks, me personally, it wouldn't bother me, it wouldn't offend me. But again, I can't talk for everyone.
That's the thing, like, we talk about, like, there's no one person you could ask, oh, wait, can I use your culture here? Or can I use kimono? Can I use your dreadlocks?
Exactly.
There's no spokesman for every race.
There's no king for blackness or whiteness.
Or Asianness.
There's no, I mean, no, exactly.
There is no spokesman for everything, and a person will be offended. I mean, like, it might be inconsiderate to say, but people always be offended by something. And, like, let's talk about Apu again. There was no offense done, and the Simpsons make fun of pretty much every culture. So in that context, it's nothing. But it doesn't mean you can't be offended. You have no choice, you have no real control of what offends you, just how you react to it.
Makes sense. That makes perfect sense.
Because, like,
I could choose to be offended with Ned Flanders being the most, being a gullible pushover, and that's somehow related to, like, one could argue that that's, like, as a fictional Christian character, he's gullible and he's a pushover. I could be offended by that because I know that not all Christians are pushovers, and I could presume that they're trying to take the mick. But then again, on the other hand, I would realize that they're not trying to take the mick of just Ned, they're taking the mick of every single character on The Simpsons. Like, I understand where people are coming from, including Hari, who created that documentary, and the problem with Apu. Yeah. I can understand where he's coming from. I can understand where other people are coming from. They say, oh, well, people have always had a problem with Apu. Apu is cultural appropriation. I mean, the guy's white. But then again, Hank Azaria should not be blamed for being white. But then again, I know that's not the point.
It might have been the best part. He could do like 20 different voices, a minimum.
Yeah.
He could do it. It's like, you get a guy that can do multiple stuff. You don't want to pay, like, what's the cost member, how many voice artists would they have if they got a person to play each character?
Hundreds, literally hundreds. And especially at the beginning, when they didn't have that much money because we were just starting, or at least not as much money they would have had now.
Yeah.
It would not have been financially sustainable. So yeah, they had to get a few select people who could do multiple voices. Obviously, that's the beauty of voice acting. You don't just do one person. You can do multiple people.
Yeah. I don't know what else to do with that you need multiple people for that.
Okay.
Like, you told me that Jar Jar Binks is also Samurai Jack. I didn't know that. That's a
Phil Lamar was Jon Stewart, one of the Green Lantern. He was Hermes in Futurama. He also played, again, Samurai Jack.
Osmosis Jones?
Yeah.
Wow. Aquaman in Young Justice, which is a white character played by a black man.
Exactly. So nobody's gonna call that cultural appropriation when a black person
Plays a white guy.
Plays a white guy or an Asian guy. Where is he from? He was born in LA.
He's a Harvard Westlake graduate. But that doesn't really matter where he went from.
Okay. So African American playing fictional white characters and fictional Asian characters. Nobody's going to say anything about it. But then again, in Hollywood, when you do see so-called whitewashing, when you do see whitewashing in Hollywood, people do make a big deal about that. I mean, you can argue that there should be more diversity in Hollywood, but that's not just about cultural appropriation. I think that's a broader study, so we could just go back to it.
Well, it's about the story and the script. I think it relates to that and whether they can get the right person.
Yeah, whether they can get the right person. But do you believe that the ethnicity of the actor is as important as who is the best for the job?
Well, if it's important to with voice acting, let's put that to the side. Let's put that to the side. Let's talk about like when acting. Let's say in Black Panther, you need black people to play black people. So
Yes.
that makes sense.
I mean, gone are the days where white people would be putting up they would have put on blackface to pretend to be black. That was a weird time.
Yeah, but if it makes sense to the script, hire who you want to hire and so on, and we have to understand timing and so on. But then, depending on how badly that studio or film or
But you're not saying that blackface was a good idea.
that was a bad idea.
Just to put that out there, because I know for a fact there'll be someone in the comments going, "Are you saying that it was a good idea because of the timing?" No, that's not what we're freaking saying.
And for the record, Tom and Jerry did that as well. Blackface. Tom and Jerry made the blackface joke. They made the blackface joke.
Probably, okay.
They did.
Okay. So in terms of...
We're a multicultural society and some people don't like that.
But do you think that more needs to be done so that people actually start thinking about this? Do you think more needs to be done when it comes to who plays a specific character? Like, do you believe that in terms of ethnic characters, I can't believe I'm actually asking this question because it might sound stupid, but do you believe that, for example, even if it's voice acting, that an Asian person would have to play an Asian character, or a black person would have to play only black characters, or an Asian person, I will say this again, an Asian person would only have to play Asian characters, a black person would only have to play black voices, a white person would only have to play white voices. Do you think that is the direction that society should be going in?
Yeah, I think that's silly.
You think it's silly, and why?
Well, I think people are allowed to be offended by that, but like we said with The Simpsons and other shows, like you get the best person for the voice. I'm not great with accents, but lots of people do American accents, they do French accents, Chinese, Japanese, German, South African.
Okay.
People say accent, people use accents all the time. Some people, like, I would not be able to do a Bruce's voice because I can't do that accent. But I'm brown, I'm South Asian, I can't do that accent. I'm guessing you could probably do it.
No.
No,
I won't even try. I'm not even.
Wait, you can delete this, so you can. Come on, I just want to hear you say it.
No, absolutely not.
See?
So
But can you do a Nigerian accent then? Can you do a Nigerian accent?
yes. Even that I'm not going to do on the podcast.
No,
but I can do it.
But
a reasonable one.
reasonable, but it won't be the best one.
It won't be like freaking Oscar worthy quality, no.
Let's talk about Oscars and whitewashing.
Yeah.
That's a whole other thing.
But here's the thing, you can argue that Hank Azaria should step aside from playing Apu, but at the same time, you could argue that Phil Lamar would have to only play or voice black fictional characters.
Wait.
You'd have to make it equal.
Well, I think back to the point. The point was that they found it was a negative stereotype of Apu, and we've talked. I personally never had a problem with Apu. He had flaws, like every character has flaws.
Exactly.
And the show's been going for 29 years. You're gonna need to come up with some silly stories. The Skinner story was very silly. Anyone could Google that. I'm not gonna go into that because that made me annoying. It made me annoyed. But anyway, like people found his portrayal offensive, but he has positives as well. So like, are you just totally focused on the negative? Are you telling me that no South Asian person has any of those negative stereotypes? Are you telling me that? Are you telling me that Okay, talk about in every TV show or every movie, like you always have a black guy as a bad guy. That's, I mean, like...
Not every TV
yeah,
show.
but you know what I mean, like, predominantly, would you say there are more black bad guys on TV than there are white guys or something? Maybe people should look into that and whether... I mean, like...
Historically, that was more of the case. I wouldn't say
they
that
tend to
now.
be English. Actors that English people tend to be...
Yeah, that makes more sense. I mean, I've seen
English.
a lot of English bad people, like English villains in movies and TV shows. That seems to be the
I
case.
remember Brian Cox, the actor, not the physicist, made a joke on Top Gear about like, oh, I think it's because they don't trust intelligence.
Perhaps. I mean, that's his opinion, but like,
He was
we're
joking.
British, we'll take it.
He was joking, obviously, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, let me not fiddle with the headphones. But yeah, that's a good point. I mean, sometimes they use a black person to be the villain, sometimes they use, an English person. Perhaps we shouldn't look too into it. Maybe it's just based on the character of the story. Maybe they're not trying to be racist.
Alright.
But again, it does depend on your opinion. You could be offended if you see the black guy being the villain. You could be offended if you see an English guy being the villain,
or an Asian,
or an Asian, or anybody else, depending on who you are or how you see it, or what your ethnicity is, or what your perspective is, or what your worldview is. Or you could just choose to just let it go and realize it's just a film.
or a TV show.
There are pressing matters of discrimination and stereotyping and racial profiling in real life that we can talk about and that we can fight against, as opposed to just complaining that a black person is playing an Asian character or an Asian character is being played by a white person.
Yeah, what if
Or that Bruno Mars plays black music but profits from the fact that he's not black but he's able to do black music, when really Bruno Mars grew up listening to black music. Elvis listened and grew up listening to black music, and that's why their songs and their music are, you could argue, are influenced by black culture.
And with Elvis and Bruno, they're both successful.
See, now that I think about it, I understand where the cultural appropriation argument comes from. I don't believe that it exists.
Well, no, cultural appropriation.
But then actually no, I
It
take
does exist.
I take that back.
It does
I take that back. When you think of the swastika, when you think of the white hoods, yes, of course it exists. But when you think of Bruno Mars and Elvis, I don't think that's cultural appropriation. I think they're using the music and the style of music that they grew up with, and they used it to express themselves when creating and writing their music.
Yeah.
You could argue that they're not cultural appropriators, they're actually just using the culture that they grew up with as a conveyor to express their message and their feelings through their music, not just to make profit. But if you're talking about the swastika and the white hoods, yes, you could argue that those are cultural appropriation. It really depends on how you look at it. Again, it's how you look at it, and it's your choice whether to be offended by it or whether to just move on with your life. If you're a historian that knows about the Holy Festival of Spain or knows about the origins of the swastika...
You talk about Holy Festival, but the Pharrell Williams and the Colour Festival, the Holly Festival, and his merchandising. I'd never have a problem with that.
Yes.
I like they look very nice.
Yes, Pharrell Williams, an African-American, working in collaboration with Adidas, a European-based international company, they came up with a Holly-based festival.
H-O-L-Y.
No,
Holly.
They came up with a fashion line inspired by the Festival of Colors that is celebrated in Nepal and India. You had all these lovely, colorful shirts that look as if they've had paint thrown on them, just like in the festival. Yeah, we saw some of the shirts and some of the shoes. They looked nice enough, but of course, Pharrell and Adidas were accused of cultural appropriation for the sake of profits and greed, because they're not Indian and they took aspects of the festival, put it on their own fashion line and sold it to the masses, and apparently that is a form of cultural appropriation. On that one, I could be swayed to either side.
They probably sell those in India and Nepal as well. they're a big company, Adidas, and Pharrell Williams.
Yeah, they went to India to market the fashion line. Like Pharrell had to go to India with Adidas, with people from Adidas to tell people all about the fashion line.
I thought the shirts look good, so I don't have a problem. And technically, it's fine. I have literally no problem with it. They look nice to me. But
Yeah.
I like it. I like the holy shirts that they use. But if they sell it in India, that means people don't mind it, and people are like, oh, I don't have to pay them, and I can have a nice shirt. It's just a nice shirt. Anyway.
Okay.
I mean, like people. I mean, like I can't
So
judge people
do
for
you
being
think that
offended.
it's actually cultural appropriation?
It is cultural appropriation because they take something from that's not inherently part of their culture and they're using it in their own way. Culture appropriation doesn't always have to be a bad thing, it depends how you use it. Just talk about the swastika, it was something good was taken with something bad, if you know what I mean.
But could you not also argue that instead of appropriation, that it's more cultural appreciation? That they weren't trying to steal it from anybody. It's not like Hindus or like people from India or Nepal. It's not like they can't do a similar fashion line. It's not like they can't do it themselves, and it's not like they can't still celebrate the Holy Festival or the Holy Festival, however it's pronounced. It's not like they can't still appreciate every aspect of the festival, both the spiritual side and the fun side.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, you could be a pro. I think culture appropriation is where you take something that's not yours, right? Well, you're culturally wise. Is that what I mean?
Yes.
So you can still appreciate it. Like,
appropriation, as in when people say cultural appropriation, many of them talk as if they stole from a culture. Appreciation is more as if they like what they see, they're influenced by it, and they carry it on, and they take it and put it in their own image, or their own music, or their own style, or their own food. I mean, if you argue,
it's what they like.
It's what they like.
Well,
I mean, is sushi? If we're not from Japan, but if we eat sushi, is that cultural appropriation? If we eat Chinese food, is that cultural appropriation? Fajitas, pizza, spaghetti, anything that isn't quintessentially British, is that cultural appropriation if we create it and cook it and eat it?
I would say it's appropriation if the people that made it for us are not from said place. I mean, like, the people that make spaghetti in England, like, how many of them are Italian in restaurants?
So you think that's a form of cultural appropriation or appreciation?
If you overanalyze it, everything is cultural appropriation because everything comes from somewhere else, and like, people are overthinking this.
But is it really appropriation though? Because those are people within those original cultures and people within those people within those original cultural backgrounds, they can still promote and participate in those same things, the cuisines, the dances, the music, the acting, the food, I said that already, the fashion, everything.
Yeah, we really like food here, don't we?
Of course. In a nutshell, I've come to realize that cultural appropriation does exist, but within certain contexts. So if they've gone and taken a holy symbol and turned it into something negative and something evil, then yeah, you bet your ass that's appropriation. If they've taken white hoods from, again, another holy, wholesome culture, and they've taken that and appropriated it and stolen it and used that to conduct and participate in evil acts, yeah, that's appropriation. But if it's in terms of growing up within a certain culture, listening to a certain type of music, and then when you become a musician, you apply that culture, that style, your upbringing, your experiences into your music and your style of music and your songwriting and song creating and your singing and your rapping, then I don't believe that it's appropriation. I feel that it's more like appreciation. Would you agree with this, or do you think that even that's appropriation?
Well, you could appreciate something by appropriating, but I'm getting confused about the word appropriate, but you can appreciate other cultures. I think that's fair enough. Yeah, well, no one can claim an entire culture.
Okay, so to wrap up, finally, being offended is a neurological response that you can't necessarily help. but how you react to something that may offend you is entirely your choice.
That's a lot of fun.
If you appreciate an aspect of a culture or the culture in general, and you use that appreciation or what appreciates you to make something, that's not necessarily you trying to steal it from the people or from the culture that you were appreciating in the first place. So that's the end of today's podcast. Thank you for listening. But before you go, remember to check us out on facebook.com/politicallychallenged. Also, we have an Instagram page, Politically Challenged 247. Our Twitter account is PCPoliticast, PCPOLITICAST. We also have a Facebook community group, Politically Challenged Podcast, and we have SoundCloud, soundcloud.com/politically-challenged. Not to mention our brand new YouTube channel.
Which just says this.
Okay, so we're on YouTube. Type in Politically Challenged and you will see us there. That's all for now.
And thanks for listening.
Thank you for listening.
Goodbye.